Hey YouTube, what's up? It's CS back here with another installment, and here are my picks for Strikeforce, Tate versus Rousey. Alrighty folks, well, what do you guys think of this card overall? In my opinion, it does look pretty good top through bottom. Taking a look at just that preliminary card, I think those bouts are even good enough to make a free UFC preliminary card, so, I really can't hate on that. Of course, the main card looks pretty solid as well. Scott Smith, Lumumba Sayers kicking it off, and of course, ending the night off with Miesha Tate, Ronda Rousey for the Women's Bantamweight Championship. That looks like a pretty solid marquee main event. I'm glad that women's MMA is getting a good look here. I think Ronda Rousey's pretty good for the sport. She talks smack and she backs it up, and Miesha Tate's just a great ambassador. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a good fight, and I think it's just overall a good look. Can't wait to break that down. Of course, KJ Noons versus Josh Thomson, also on the main card. Paul Daley versus Kazuo Masaki, and also Ronaldo Souza and Bristol Murundi. But of course, we're going to start off like usual at the top with that Women's Bantamweight Championship main event, Miesha Tate versus Ronda Rousey. Alrighty folks, well, I can't say I'm not excited for this one. I do enjoy the trash talk between the two, and I enjoy the fact that they're both very good fighters. Of course, Ronda Rousey, the challenger, relatively a newcomer into this MMA thing. She only has 4 fights, and she got a title shot that fast in the marquee weight division for women's MMA. So props to her for, talking shit and backing it up. And that's why Sarah Kaufman's not getting the shot. Ronda Rousey, a tad more marketable, and, she just knows how to hype a fight. So props to Ronda for getting it done. And yeah, the winner of this will most likely get the winner of Sarah Kaufman, Alexis Davis. And yeah, Sarah Kaufman has that in the bag, I think. But in terms of this fight, Miesha Tate, how well does she match up with Ronda Rousey? I don't think she matches up very well, personally. Miesha Tate, she's called Takedown Tate. She has solid takedowns, but really, I'm not sure how explosive she can be against someone with the hips of Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey, of course, Olympic-level judo, and I just think that she's going to be hard as hell to take down, save Miesha Tate feels like taking down Ronda Rousey. Now, the question is, can Ronda Rousey be effective in the later rounds? Because I'm not sure if she can finish Miesha Tate relatively quickly like some of her other opponents. I think she has the cardio to do so. She trains really hard out of the High Austin Academy, so she's rolling with a lot of dudes there. Manny Gambirian, Go Korchavich, and of course the guy who heads that thing. So yeah, they all train hard over there. So I think she'll be ready for whatever pace Miesha Tate's trying to set, say if it gets to the later rounds. But I don't think it gets to the later rounds because I think Ronda Rousey's going to come out there relatively aggressive like usual, and I'm not sure how Miesha Tate is going to react to that pressure. I don't think she does it really well. So I look for Ronda Rousey to come out there, throw some bombs in terms of boxing. Some people are going to argue that her striking, is pretty raw, but then again, I think Miesha Tate's striking is overrated as well. People are like, Miesha Tate should keep this on the feet, try to beat up Ronda Rousey like that. I'm just not sure how she's going to be able to do so with a jab and whatever combination she has. So I just don't look for Miesha Tate to win on the feet. I think she's going to have the ground on her mind as well, but I think Ronda Rousey is just going to be more effective in getting it there because of her aggression and because of her strength as well. I think she's a stronger opponent, and yeah, I think she's going to run up against Miesha Tate, push her up against the cage, eventually drag her down somehow with a hip toss, some sort of judo throw maybe, who knows, and then from there I think she proceeds to ground pounder and grab an armbar for a first round submission. So that's my pick, Ronda Rousey first round submission, armbar. So yeah, again, I can't really express how excited I am for that fight. Again, Ronda Rousey finally getting tested, of course, against the best in the world on paper in Miesha Tate. So yeah, let's just hope we see something exciting in that one. We'll see. Now let's move on to that KJ Noons, Josh Thomson lightweight bout. And I don't know about you guys, but I really don't have any faith in KJ Noons keeping it on defeat over the course of 3 rounds against Josh Thomson. Josh Thomson only really loses this fight if he feels like it. Josh Thomson has all the tools to win here. He can, of course, drag it down with his wrestling. He's a pretty solid athlete, pretty explosive takedown. I just don't think KJ Noons is going to have the takedown defense to defend against someone like Josh Thomson. Josh Thompson's actually a solid wrestler. This isn't Connor Hune. This isn't Nick Diaz. So I think Josh Thomson actually has the shit to get it to the ground against KJ Noons. KJ Noons, does he win on the feet? I'm not even sure if he does that. Josh Thompson's a pretty solid striker, and he actually moves better laterally, unlike, say, a Billy Evangelista. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to say Josh Thompson's going to go out there and, Jorge Masvidal's ass, but I don't think KJ Noons is going to be able to dictate the pace of the fight with a jab on the feet as well, say if he's somehow able to keep it standing. So I think Josh Thompson's pretty much fine and out of trouble no matter where he goes, but I think he can put someone in trouble, and KJ Noons if he gets him on his back, which I think he will do. I think Josh Thomson will oblige to strike with KJ Noons for the most part at first, but he realizes that he's just so weak off his back, and I think Josh Thomson can put him there. So I look for Josh Thomson to do that eventually and ground pound him for almost a TKO, but I think he takes his back for a rear naked choke. I say this happens in round 2, so second round submission for Josh Thomson. Alrighty, folks, now let's move on to that welterweight bout between Paul Daley and Kazuo Misaki. Now, Kazuo Misaki, of course, if you know who he is, he's a pretty exciting and well-rounded fighter. Just watch the George Santiago fights. And, of course, we all know who Paul Daley is. The guy throws bombs. He has left and right hooks from hell. And I think Semtex got Misaki in this one all day, every day. I just don't have any faith on Misaki in terms of what he can do on the feet, because he'll probably get knocked out, and I just don't think he gets it to the ground. So yeah, he'll probably be subjected to standing with Paul Daley, which I said will get him knocked out. If Kazuo Misaki comes in there with a game plan trying to get this to the ground, I just don't think he has enough in his takedowns to get Paul Daley to the ground, because Paul Daley's takedown defense has improved. His hips are better, and yeah, I just don't see Kazuo Misaki being able to cage and clinch and then drop for a double leg. I don't see him being able to shoot from 2 or 3 feet out in the middle of the cage. So I just don't see how Misaki gets it down to the ground, and because of that, he will be subjected to striking with Paul Daley, and I don't think he'll mind, so he's going to leave himself open for those right and left hooks that Paul Daley is going to throw. Of course, Kazuo Misaki does have decent hands himself, and he's going to hit Paul Daley, but Paul Daley's been hit with a heck of a whole lot more. Take a look at the Nick Diaz fight, of course, and yeah, I think he can take all of what Misaki can't throw at him if he took all that Nick Diaz punishment, of course, until he got knocked out. So I look for Misaki to throw some punches, connect with some, but ultimately get hit and get dropped with a left or right hook from Paul Daley. So that's my pick, Paul Daley to win via first round knockout punches. Alrighty, folks, now let's move on to that Ronaldo Souza bout with Bristol Murundi. Now, Bristol Murundi, he's from Alaska. His name's Bristol. Does that sound familiar to anyone? I don't know. I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, I just don't think he has a shot against Ronaldo Souza. Write the check. I really don't see how he has a shot. Ronaldo Souza pretty much better at everything, in my opinion. His striking has sharpened up to the point where it's not a huge weakness. Of course, Rockhold did expose that in his last bout, but Bristol Murundi is not Luke Rockhold, and I think Bristol Murundi will try to keep this on the feet, of course, because Ronaldo Souza, if you know who he is, one of the best submission grapplers in the world, and all he needs against this Bristol Murundi guy is one takedown, and as soon as he gets it, it's going to be peanuts for him, because he's going to submit him with whatever he wants and more. Yeah, and I think it's most likely going to happen. So I think Ronaldo Souza is going to spend some time boxing with Bristol Murundi, not really getting hit by anything substantial, but of course eventually just caging, clinching with this dude and dropping for a double leg, and I think he's going to get it, and from there I think he proceeds to beat him with a rear naked choke in the first round. So there it is, Ronaldo Souza, first round submission. Alrighty, folks, now let's move on to the last fight to break down, of course, the one kicking us off, Scott Smith versus Lumumba Sayers in welterweight. Now, Scott Smith, of course, he is the comeback kid, and back maybe a couple years ago, he would be able to threaten anyone with his punching power, no matter what state he was in. Usually, he'd be losing the fight up until he knocks people out. That's Scott Smith MMA. He really isn't good at controlling the distance on the feet, controlling the pace of the fight whatsoever. Of course, he just throws those power shots, and if he hits you, he probably wins. Yeah, he's kind of like Chris Lieben like that, but Chris Lieben's a little bit more skilled, of course. Now, how does he beat Lumumba Sayers? Of course, tag him with those knockout shots, but I think he's going to be taking too many from Lumumba Sayers himself. Lumumba Sayers is a pretty good power puncher himself, relatively inexperienced in the MMA game, but I think he's faster. I think he hits harder. I think he's technically better as a striker as well, and I think he has all the tools to win this thing. And maybe if he takes Scott Smith down, he might have some success with ground and pound there. I think the dude has options, and I think he's more athletic. And I think Scott Smith's just taking too many hits to the head. And I don't think we're going to see the comeback kid again come this bout. So I think he's going to get knocked out via first round TKO. So that's my pick, Lumumba Sayers punches. Alright, and I guess that does it for me for Strikeforce Tate versus Rousey. I hope you guys enjoyed my video, and I hope you guys enjoyed the card. I hope I will. It definitely looks pretty exciting on paper for me. So yeah, we'll see, I guess. And hopefully I see you for a review right after the event. And of course, check out UFC on FX, Alves versus Campman. My pick should be up for that as well. And check out my review for that whenever it comes out. So I guess that about does it for me again. Deuces for all my supporters, bruises for all my haters, and take care. See ya.